We are very excited, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, to begin a new volume, Malakut Sichos, volume 23, Krach Chov Gimel, on Chumash Bamidbar. We begin with the first Sicha, a beautiful Rashi Sicha on this week's Parsha, with a very powerful lesson in Avodas Hashem regarding the Achdus of Yidden. The Shir today is being learned L'Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Rabbi Menashe Koltman. From Pasuk, Eile Kruya Eda Nisiye Matis Avaisam Rashi Alfi Yisrael Heim. The Pasuk in this week's Parsha where it says, these were the ones called by the congregation. Those are the two words Rashi will explain. The Nisiim of all the Yidden, Rashi Alfi Yisrael. Stellt sich Rashi of the Werte Eile Kruya Eda. So Rashi stops on these two words of Eile Kruya Eda and is mefarish, and he explains, what does it mean? Hanikroyim l'chol dvar chshivish be'eda. That these are the individuals that are called for every important matter for the people, for the congregation. That's the type of Kruya Eda. What is Rashi saying here? So in the commentaries, we find two types of explanations of what Rashi's intention is. Aleph, the first pshat is, Rashi kommt scheilo sein, aber soll nicht lernen, as Kruya Eda meint, as sie rufen zusammen die Eda. Rashi is coming to negate a possible interpretation that Kruya Eda means that they are the ones that call and summon the people. And as they cannot learn it, and Rashi is telling you that you cannot understand it this way. Das ist nicht die Chshivas von Nesiim. This is not the prominence of the Nesiim, the fact that they are the ones that summon all the people. So here the Pasuk wants to tell us about how great these Nesiim were, so therefore that Rashi says it means that they are the ones that are called for every important matter for the people. That's one pshat in Rashi. Beis, another pshat. Der Lashon Kruya Eda is mashma as a werden gerufen von der Eda. The words Kruya Eda seems like it's saying that who's the one that calls them, who summons these Nesiim? The people. Was das passt nicht zu sagen auf Nesiim? But it's not appropriate to say this regarding these Nesiim, as they sind die Gerufene, that they're the ones that are being summoned, und die Eda sind die was kairem geizrim, and the people are the ones that call them or decree upon them that they should come. Die was rufen die Nesiim, they call the Nesiim, ki'ilu, the Eda is hecha from the Nesiim, indicating sort of that the people are above the Nesiim, sort of controlling them or inviting or summoning them. So therefore Rashi is negating this as well. The Rebbe is Rashi mefarish, as das meint, hanikroim l'chol dvar chshivish be'eda. This means they werden take gerufen efsher oicha idea eda, that these Nesiim are called for a certain purpose and possibly even by the people, but if an eitze v'tikun. They're being called for advice and to rectify some matter. Of yede dvar chshivis was the eda hot for any important matter that concerns the people, or the darfam for whatever need they have. So therefore, from this we understand that Eile Kruya Eda is expressing the prominence of these Nesiim. So here the Rebbe in Sif Beis will explain why it's difficult to accept both of these pshatim. Es ist aber schwer einzulernen in Rashi beide Pirushim anal, but it's difficult to learn in the words of Rashi both of these interpretations. Leuten ersten Pirish, according to the first pshat here, as Rashi kommt scheilo sein, man soll kein Tos nicht haben in Teich von der Wort Kruya. Rashi is simply coming to clarify the translation of the word Kruya. Who is calling whom? Right, so that Kruya Eda, that you shouldn't think that it means that they call together the people, because there's no chshivas to that. Right? That's what Rashi is coming to clarify. Hat Rashi gedacht meitig sein vom Pasuk belois dem Wort Kruya mefarish sein hanikroim v'chayetze bezeh. So in that case, it would be necessary for Rashi only to bring this one word, kruei, and to translate. What does kruei mean? Kruei does not mean that they summon the people, but on the other hand, the opposite, it means nikroim, that they are the ones that are called for important matters. If it's just a matter of translating the word kruei, kruei could mean they call, or kruei could mean that they get called. So Rashi just has to bring that one word and translate it. Additionally, if Rashi is shailo, if we're going to say that the idea that you may have to translate the words here in the pasuk would be as follows, is shailo adrite pirish, Rashi is actually coming to negate the third approach, as kruei meint di vasrufen di eda. Kruei over here does refer, you would think maybe that it refers to the Nesiim that summon the people, And the reason is, you would actually think the fact that they're appointed to summon all the people does show on their prominence. Und der Rebbe teischt up Rashi as the Chshivas is an andere. And Rashi is coming to say, true, that yes, if they would be calling the people, that does show in a certain Chshivas, the fact that they are inviting everybody. But however, their real prominence is something else. That they are the ones that summon everybody else. In other words, according to the other pshatim that Rashi brought before, the main point over here is that Rashi wants you to understand that krui means that there's chshivas, there's prominence. But according to this third pshat that Rebbe offers here, that however you teach krui, whether they summon the people, whether they get summoned by the people, either way it expresses their chshivas, their importance. And Rashi is telling you that the correct pshat is that they get called by the people for a certain matter. But if so, if that's what Rashi is explaining here, is das Kufanit move on. So this itself needs an explanation. Why does Rashi negate the pshat that's saying that Kruyeda means that they invite the people if them being the ones that invite everybody, summon everybody, does show on prominence? Das ist doch ein Inyan von Chshivas. If that alone is already a Chshivas, Masan Tzaminyan da, which is befitting what we're discussing here, why they were chosen to come and help Moshe and Aaron count the Yidden, we're going to be calling all the Yidden, gathering all the Yidden for them to be counted. So, we must say, as das was Rashi learned in der Pirishim Pasik, as they rufen the Eda, the fact that Rashi does not want to explain the Pasik to mean that they are the ones that call and summon all the people, is nit azay mitzadem teichen apirish. It's not because the content, the meaning, this pshat itself, that there's something over here that doesn't fit into the pasuk. Now, what this is heipich pirish hateva krue, but because it's the word, the actual word krue cannot mean this. Krue meant azay veren gerufen. Krue eda means that they are called by the people. Nit azay rufen the eda, and not that they call the people together. That's the simple title of the word krue, so Rashi doesn't even have to clarify that. So isn't it move on? If so, the question remains here. If so, why does Rashi have to explain this and clarify this if it's self-understood? So again, the point here is, it must be that it's self-understood, that that's the actual translation of krue, because if it's not, then we're left with the question, why does Rashi choose this pshat and not the pshat that the people summon the Nesiim, if that also shows on an Inyan of Chshivas? Or again, why doesn't Rashi choose the pshat that the Nesiim gather and summon the people, if that also refers to Chshivas? So we must say that it's self-understood. If it's self-understood that Krue means that the people summon the Nesiim, so then why does Rashi even have to explain this? Okay, this is all regarding the first interpretation in this Rashi. Den zweiten Pirish Anal is not move on. The second pshat of Rashi as well is not understood. In dem Teichen von Krue, the word Krue, when it says Krue Eda, is not angedatet as die Kroim seine niedrige mitzadem vazei werden gerufen von die Kairem. There is no way, nothing that indicates here that the ones that are being called are lower on their level, less than the people that are calling them. And therefore, as the Mefarshim said, that Rashi does not want to say that they're being called by the people, because that would show that they're on a lower level. What indicates that they're on a lower level? Is Favasas Meshalim dem lernen azay. So what is negating this pshat? Why do we not want to learn this way? Es kann doch sein, as me ruft sei, bekehrt sich zu sei, zu lieb zech shivas. It could be that they're being called and they're being turned to because of their prominence. It's not necessary for Rashi to come and say, L'chol dvar chshivas shebeida. Why does Rashi have to come and emphasize that they're being called for a special eitzah, a special tikkun? It would be self-understood. If they're being summoned, they're being called, they're probably being turned to because of their prominence. So what is Rashi adding here? So on Siv Gimel, we continue with the next Rashi in the Pasik, or in the next Pasik. Weiter auf den zweiten Pasik, on the next Pasik here it says, Vayikach Moshe v'Aaron es ha'anoshim ha'ele asher nikvu b'shemes. Moshe and Aaron took these people that were specified with their names. Stellt sich Rashi of the Werte ha'anoshim ha'ele. So Rashi brings the words of the Pasik ha'anoshim ha'ele. These people here, these men, on his mefarish es shneim asa nesiim alolo. We're speaking about these 12 nesiim. Danach stellt sich auf the Werte asher nikvu on his mefarish Loi kan b'shemes, the ones that were specified here with their names. So it's not clear what exactly Rashi is clarifying in the pasuk. So the commentaries explain as follows. As funarich is lashna pasuk. All these words here in the pasuk. Vayikach Moshe va'Aaron Esa anoshim ha'ele gomer unit vayikach oisam Moshe va'Aaron. Since we're talking about them before, it could have just simply said that Moshe and Aaron took them. Why does it say ha'anoshim ha'ele, these people? We're in the middle of speaking about these Nesiim here. There would be room to say, as does in an andere Anoshim, that when it says now, it's actually others, other 12 men. Not the Yud Beis Nesiim, not the 12 Nesiim that were already mentioned earlier. And if that would be true, andere mention, the ones that were specified with their names would be referring to other men, was der Eibishter at Neukev gewesen, sie nehmen zu Moshe Rabbeinu früher b'makom acher. And their names were specified to Moshe Rabbeinu elsewhere. We don't know where, but Moshe Rabbeinu heard from Hashem another group of 12 men that should be gathered here. That's what it would seem from the extra words, Ha'anoshim Eile. Is Rashi does Shailel, so Rashi negates this pshat and sagt, and he tells us, as da wird gemeint, die Shneim Oster Nesiim alalu. That no, the pasuk here is referring to the very same 12 men, when it says that the ones that were specified with their names, not different men elsewhere that Moshe Rabbeinu got their names. No, like here, Tzumoshen und not. Over here, these names that are mentioned here in the pasuk is told to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what Rashi is clarifying in the pshat of the pasuk. However, it's very difficult to say that this is the pshat. As lule pirish Rashi will give a havamine without Rashi clarifying this. I would think to say as the pasuk do that the pasuk here be'emtza dibur, in the middle of this whole discussion, the Eibush is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu ba'ariches at length wegen die Shnei Masa Nesiim, about these 12 Nesiim. Vet meinen mit vayikach es ha'anoshim ha'ele andere mention. When it says the words that you take these men, or Moshe Rabbeinu took these men, and it says these men, what does it mean? Other 12 men that are not even mentioned here. Nit ha'ele, the oibende mountain was the Eibishot geisen, and not these that are mentioned here that Hashem has commanded him. How would you think that that's the pshat of the pasuk? Und noch more so the question is, the pasuk zolt nit zogin beferish wer ze zennen, and you would even think that this could be possible even though the pasuk does not even say who they are. Nor zolav ze undaten mit taremes, and it's just indicating that there are other men with a hint. Es ha'anoshim ha'ele shenikfu b'shemos, men that were specified by their names elsewhere. Nit zagendig wegen wem es retzich, not telling us who it's speaking about. This is very difficult to say that this is what the pasuk means. Und Rashi soll dafen Sheilel sein dem Pirish, and Rashi has to negate this way of understanding the pasuk. It can't be. Very difficult to learn Rashi this way. So the question is, what is Rashi clarifying here in the pshat of the pasuk? You see, if Dalet the Rebbe brings what other Mefarshim say over here about these words of Anoshim Eile, other Mefarshim learning as Rashi is da nit sheilak es daitoch in pasuk as das meint andere Menschen. Rashi is definitely not coming to negate an idea that the pasuk here is speaking about other men. Not an inyan in Avonas Haksuvim. There's something that Rashi has to clarify in the understanding of the psukim here. Since the pasuk uses the term these men, is mashma as does an stam anoshim. It seems like that we're speaking about people that they're referred to as just plainly men. We're not referring to them as nesiim. They're being chosen not for the fact that they were the leaders of each shevet, but rather that just simply that they were men. Und das bewarnt Rashi, so this Rashi clarifies, as those Shnei Masa Nesiim alalu, as much genommen als Nesiim. No, they are being chosen to join the count of all the Yidden because of their position of who they are, that they were the leaders. That's what Rashi comes to clarify. But if that's what Rashi is coming to say, the question, however, remains, so why does the pasuk use the term that these men were taken to count the Yidden, and it does not say Nesiim, the leaders? And you need Rashi to come and clarify that they are these Nesiim. So why doesn't the pasuk actually say that they are the Nesiim the way they are referred to earlier? Okay, so basically we have over here a few Rashis that need to be explained. What is Rashi coming to explain in these psukim regarding these 12 Nesiim that joined the count with Moshe and Aaron to count Klal Yisrael? So in Sifei, the Rebbe will point out that there are some basic problems here with these psukim, and really Rashi is coming to give an answer more generally to understand what these psukim are b'chlal coming to tell us. So we'll understand all this by first introducing some basic questions that there are on these psukim here. Aleph, number one, the zwei psukim. These two psukim we're discussing. Eile krue geime und vayikach Moshe va'Aaron geime zen lochere b'chlal ibedik are seemingly completely extra. The negei the mershtem pasuk regarding the first pasuk of Eile krue, steht schon betchilas inyan. It already says earlier ve'itchem yiyu ish lamate ish reis lebeis avaisavu. Along with you comes 12 men, one for the head of each one of the shvatim that will count Yidden. Is was kommt da der pasuk vidra mal ze metai zayin ubariches. What's the pasuk coming here again to describe and at length exactly who they are and what they are, that they're created and so on. Nachmer is nit move on. My kamashvel on the zweite pasuk. Even more so, the question is, what is the second pasuk of Vayikach Moshe v'Aaron coming to teach me? Es ist doch pashet as Moshe v'Aaron haben ausgefolgt, was der Eibishter hat sie geheißen. It's obvious that Moshe and Aaron followed orders of what Hashem told them. Is as mit zei sollen die Nesiim aufzählen die Yidden, that together with the Nesiim the Yidden should be counted. Und wie beribe mekaymes beteire, was teire the zählt nit, that is, in many places in Teire, the Teire does not relate noch ein Zivi as Moshe at mekayim given them Zivi Hashem. After Moshe gets a command from Hashem, the Teire does not specify of what happened and how he fulfilled it. It's self-understood that he fulfilled what Hashem wants of him. So why here is the Torah saying Vayikach that Moshe Rabbeinu took along these Nesiim with him? The pasuk will dann meise tame faret sein as Moshe v'Aaron haben mekayim given Tzivya Kodesh Baruch Hu b'payol. Even if for whatever reason the Torah does want to specify that Moshe and Aaron fulfilled Hashem's command in actuality, would given genug zu sagen Vayasat kein Moshe v'Aaron. It would be enough, similar to what it says in other places, to just simply say, and Moshe and Aaron did, they followed. Other al kopanim Vayikach Moshe v'Aaron es ha'anoshim ha'eleh. And Moshe and Aaron took these men. Was is neitig the hemshech? Why is it necessary to add the continuation asher nikvu b'shemus? It was specified by their names. Ki'ilu medafhab masimin vem zeom genommen. As if the pasuk has to give some kind of a sign to be clear exactly who it is that Moshe and Aaron took along with them. It's not necessary. It already clearly says that the Nesiim are joining the count. Beis, another basic question here is, B'chlal is done it move on the hemshech dibra kadosh baruch hu Moshe. In general, it's not understood over here the continuation of Hashem's words to Moshe. Nach dem pasuk, after the pasuk that says in the beginning, "Ve'itchem yiyu ish lamate," that along with Moshe and Aaron comes these 12 men, the 12 Nesiim. Hat der Eibishter gesagt. So then over there, the Eibishter says, "Ve'ele shmais ha'anoshim." Here, these are the names of these men. Asher yamdu itchem leRuven goimer, the name of the Nasi of Ruven, and it's mefaret the name von jeden Nasi shevet bazunder. And the Torah specifies the names of all the shvatim separately. So the question is, why is this necessary? Seemingly, der dibur is doch given be'echad lachodesh hasheni b'shana hashenis. When is Hashem speaking to Moshe? As the pasuk says, this was the first of the month of Iyar in the second year after you didn't come out of Mitzrayim. This says be'echad be'Iyar. Achodesh nachdem v'hukam ha'mishkan. This is 1 month after the Mishkan was erected. Was demol haben dieselbe Nesiim makir given karbonis lachanukas hamizbeach. These are the same Nesiim that then on Rosh Chodesh Nisan bring each one their karbonis on the mizbeach, the karbonis of the Nesiim. So haint if so for was at Revish to Meise given ve'elish Meise anoshim v'gaimer. Why is Hashem saying? And here these are the names of these men. Ki'ilu is megale u'meidia leMoshe dinemim from the Nesiim. As if now he's revealing and notifying Moshe the names. The Shas is then given by Vus Moshe from Friya, if they were already known to Moshe Rabbeinu from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Now the Rebbe clarifies now here in the order the way this is written in the Torah. The psukim ve'elish Moshe anoshim zen nitay doas hakosov. It's not the pasuk notifying who these men are. What the Rebbe is clarifying over here is the story of Rosh Chodesh Nisan that happened before the story of Rosh Chodesh Iyar. So in the Torah, it's written out of order. It only comes in the next week's parasha, in Parashas Nasai, where it speaks about the Nesiim that brought their karbonis. So if so, you could say, even if Moshe Rabbeinu knew it from before, but we didn't learn Parashas Nasai yet, it's brought in Torah later, so maybe now the pasuk here is telling me who these men are. So the Rebbe says no. When it says in the pasuk Ve'ele Shmoisa Anoshim, it's not the pasuk notifying us who they are. Vazdan is moving it das Hashem. If that would be the case, so then the fact that the pasuk tells me their names would be understood. Because until this point, the names have not been mentioned yet. As I said before, it's only mentioned later in the next week's parasha in Nasai. No, rather, but over here though, when it says Ve'ele Shmoisa Anoshim, Atel von Dibra Kadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. This is Hashem communicating with Moshe Rabbeinu about who he should bring to count the Yidden. Ve'ele Shmoisa Anoshim Asher Yandu Itchem Goyme. These are the names of the men that will stand with you when you count the Yidden. So the question is, why is Hashem notifying Moshe Rabbeinu who these people are and with all their names? If Moshe Rabbeinu knows, you just have to tell him the Nesiim. He knows their names from who they were a month before when they brought the Karbanis for all the Klal Yisrael and Chodesh Nisan. So we have some very strong and basic questions here on these psukim. They're completely extra, and especially all the names brought before are also completely extra. So Sivav, the Rebbe shows us how the Rashi, a few words here that Rashi says, brought before the Rashis, Rashi answers what it is that happens new here with these Nesiim. So for Ati Shailes, to answer these questions, Sokt Rashi Kruei Ha'eda. Rashi explains what do the words Kruei Ha'eda mean. Hanikroyim l'chol dvar chshiva shebeda. They are called for every important matter of the people. Da hat sich aufgetan a naye inyan by the Nesiim. What Rashi is telling you is, yes, the Nesiim are known from before, but there's a new level, a new accomplishment regarding who these Nesiim and what their job was. Which earlier did not apply to them. Now, what exactly is this new thing? So this continues to what Rashi already says before this. What does Rashi say? When the pasuk says, along with Moshe Rabbeinu, should be one man, one nasi for each shevet. Is Rashi mefarish? And so Rashi says the following words: Keshetifkedu oisam. When you count the Yidden, Yiu imachem nasi kol shevet v'shevet. Along with you should be the nasi of every single shevet. What does this mean? Was bespashtos kumt the Rashi mefarish sein. So simply, Rashi is coming and explaining, as das was the Nesiim, seine Gewinn, zusammen mit Moshe v'Aaron b'miyim b'nei Yisrael, the fact that the Nesiim joined Moshe and Aaron in counting the Yidden, is nicht der Pirish. This does not mean, as jeder nasi hat sich mishtatev gewinn, nor b'minyan shiftei. That each Nasi, as you would think, only participated in the count of his Shevet. Nor, as the Nesiim von alle Shvatim haben sich mishtatu gewen b'minyan kol Shevet v'Shevet. But rather, that all 12 Nesiim participated with the count of all 12 of the Shvatim. Kol Shevet v'Shevet. That's what Rashi says. So the meaning of kol Shevet v'Shevet does not mean each one for their Shevet. No, they were all there together by the count of all the Shvatim. That's the chiddush that Rashi says before. And here the Rebbe explains where Rashi takes this from. On Rashi nimmt es heraus von Lashon HaPasuk ve'itchem yihiyu, and they will be with you. The word yihiyu, und steht nicht behemshich zum Lashon in the friedigen Pasuk. The Pasuk does not use the term similar to what it says earlier. Tifkedu oisam letzevaisam ata va'arein unesiya shvatim. It doesn't just say that you will count all Yidden, Aaron, and then Nesiya shvatim, or something similar. Rather, it says, V'itchem yiyu, they will always be with you. Ukumavur in Mefarshim, Bepratius, as this is explained and elaborated upon in the Mefarshim, that these words, V'itchem yiyu, indicate this. So therefore, we see a tremendous chiddush. Yes, we know that they are Nesiim, but here, there's something new that happens. The Nesiim have to all be there, not just as a leader for their Shevet, but when all the Shvatim are being counted. So a clarification is needed for this. Was for a Sheiches hat a Nasi von ein Shevet to the minion von a zweiten Shevet? What relation does the Nasi of one Shevet have to the count of a different Shevet? Was is nicht sein Nasi. He's not the leader of the other Shevet. Moshe waren die Frier von alle Yidden. Vierer, that is, sorry. Moshe and Aaron are the ones that are the leaders of all the Yidden. All Yidden. Moshe is the Goyel Manik. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Redeemer and leader of all Yidden. And Aaron is the Kohen Gadol von alle Yidden. And Aaron is the Kohen Gadol of all of Klal Yisrael. The Rebbe Tzelen Zeh, alle Shiftei Yisrael. So that's understood why Moshe and Aaron both count the entire Klal Yisrael. Aber the Nesiim sind doch shaykh jeder nor zu dem Shevet welches Nasi is. But each one of the Nesiim is only connected to the Shevet, that he's a Nasi of that Shevet. Mitzadem hat Ort zum Mishatev sein, jeder von sie and the Miyum von sein Shevet. So there's room to say that they should take part in the count of his Shevet. And the Rabbi gives a few reasons for this. Whether Mitzat Kvoide Shel Nasi, it's to give honor to the Nasi, that if you're counting his Shevet, you should be involved in this count. Or alternatively, weil hat gedacht bestätigen, als der gezählte gehört zu sein Shevet, because he has the knowledge regarding exactly who belongs to his Shevet and who's not. So the Nasi is the one that verified that this person is part of the Shevet, and he's counted as part of the Shevet. Es kann sein a Suffix, wegen dem Yichus von a Yidin. There could be some kind of question regarding the lineage of a Yid. Wird es nifter durch dem Nasi. So the Nasi is the one that resolves this. So that's understood if he's taking part of the count of his Shevet. Was für a Sheiches hat aber der Nasi zu die andere Shifte Yisrael? What connection does this Nasi have to all other Shvatim? Was mitzadem darf sich mishtatev sein in Zeir Minyan. And therefore he must also be involved in the count of all the Klal Yisrael. That is what Rashi comes to explain it. Of them is given the Dibur Hashem. So for this we have this pasuk, which the Rebbe asked before, this extra pasuk that comes to say, Eile Krueya Eida. What does this mean? Demolt hat ze der Eibishter memane gewen mit aminu chodesh. It's now at this point that they are appointed with a new position, a new job. As neis of lezeh. Was jeder von sie is a nasi l'shifta. In addition to the fact that each one is the leader of his shevet, then is geworden die nikrayim l'chol dvar chshivus shebe'eda. That they are the ones that are summoned for any important matter for the entire congregation. Sie haben mashayches. Und sie sind verbunden mit der ganzen Eda. They're connected and they have a relation with the entire congregation, mit alle Yidden, nicht bloß mit sein Shevet, not only with their Shevet. So that's what this pasuk of here is saying. Yes, these are the Nesiim from before, but now they're being appointed newly to be involved and leaders for the entire Klal Yisrael. That's what Rashi clarifies. So we now understand why this is not an extra pasuk. Eile Kruya Eda. And as we'll see, this will answer the other questions as well. And Siv Zayin, the Rebbe continues to answer the other questions. When we look in the Psukim before, and the Pasuk describes these Nesiim, again, by Metai and the Nesiim, Zok the Pasuk, what does the Pasuk say? Nesiye Mates Avaisam, and then it adds Roshei Alfei Yisrael, that they are the heads of the thousands of the Yidden. Seemingly, da is blaisnegeya as is an nisiye matas avaisam. The only thing that matters here is that they are the nasi of their shevet, so they're taking part in the count of their shevet. Was is the pasuk meisel from madgish Roshei Alfei Yisrael heim? Why is the pasuk adding and highlighting the fact that they are leaders for all of Klal Yisrael? No, the pasuk will mit unterstreichen sehr gadlus bechlal. That's exactly what the pasuk wants to emphasize. That these Nesiim were great and leaders for Klal Yisrael in general. As they sind Roshi Alfei Yisrael, leaders of all the thousands of Yidden. Ubemele sind sie roi zu werden Kruya Eda, so therefore they're fit to be the ones that are called for all the Yidden, umezeh mishatev by Minyan von all Yidden. And therefore they are being included in the count not only of their Shevet, but of all of Klal Yisrael. Now there's another beautiful diak over here in this term Roshei Alfei Yisrael. For Yom Tak Yaiser, this is much geschmacker understood, like in Pirish, in Roshei Alfei Yisrael, the pshat of the words Alfei Yisrael, as this meant Roshim of the Sarei Alofim, that these Nesiim are the heads over the Sarei Alofim, which are mentioned in Parshas Yisrael, that were the ministers, the ones that were appointed over the thousands of Eden. Every thousand of Klal Yisrael had another head or another judge that was taking care of their matters, the Sarei Alofim. So here, there are certain Yidden that could have been left out, because the Yidden's count was not exactly down to an even number of 1,000 that could be divided for these Sarim to take care of Yidden, as the Rebbe specifies there. Der Sachakoil from me and Kol Shevet is doch given Kamemeis v'chuli Yiseiris ala Alofim. As we see, the count of the Shvatim were a couple of hundred more than a equal number or a full number of 1,000. So what that means is that you had the Sarei Alofim that took care of matters of 1,000 Eden, but then what happened with those remainder, with those hundreds that were left out of that 1,000? So in order now to appoint someone else to take care of, to combine from different Shvatim, 100 from these Shvatim, 100 from another Shevet that were remainders, and to come to the number of 1,000, that even over these hundreds that were a remainder, there should also be a minister, someone that takes care of this 1,000. This is by combining the remainder of hundreds of Yidden from various Shvatim together. And it's on them that the Pasuk is saying, Roshei Alfei Yisrael, regarding these, they were the leaders over these remainder of hundreds that was a combination of a few Shvatim. So if that's the case, it comes out as the Nisim, Zayin, the Nisim of the Sarei Alafim, these Nisim. So they were also the leaders over the Sarei Alafim, is they Nisiyas Geven, Nitnar of B'nei Shiftam, not only were they leaders over the people of their own Shevet, nor Oichiv Andere. Their Nisiyas included also other Yidden of other Shvatim as well, since that's the only way to combine and bring it to the number of 1,000. And that's what the Pasuk is hinting or telling us with the words Alfei Yisrael. So therefore, we understand that over here, these Nisiyim, which were Nisiyim before for their Shevet, but now there's a whole new level that their Nisiyas takes on itself, and that is the Nisiyas over the entire Klal Yisrael. So now we come back to answering in Sif Ches, the names that are specified here again. All the names are counted, and the Pasuk emphasizes Nikfu b'Shemais. What are we saying with this? With this we understand why over here Hashem, when he speaks to Moshe, he says all the names of all the Shvatim again. As we already learned earlier about this, is that Hashem appoints and also provides the necessary for this, the power, the energy for this, by calling a name. That's the appointing and an empowering of the person. Via state, as we see when it comes to building the Mishkan, Re'ei karasi b'shem B'tzalel. See that I've called him with a name, B'tzalel, and he's filled with the spirit of Hashem. So we see calling a name is empowering and appointing a person to a position. So therefore the same is in our case. So the Shemus and Nisim to Moshe, by the fact that Hashem calls them by their names, speaking to Moshe, hat das gepeilt in sei am minui v'inyan chadash, was es bei sei früher nicht gewesen. This is what affects and brings this new position that they're appointed to that they did not earlier have. Which means Nikrayim l'chol dvar chshivishe be'eda, from the ganze Eda canal. That now they are the ones that gather all the Klal Yisrael. They are the ones that are being called, rather. They're the ones that are being called for any important matter that's relevant for all of Klal Yisrael. With this, we understand the second pasuk as well, which seems to be extra when it says, that Moshe Rabbeinu took these men that were specified by their name. Since over here, there's this new position and this new power that Hashem gives to these Nisim here. So therefore, from Moshe Rabbeinu's part as well, they have to be taken as well to be the Kruya Eda, the ones that are summoned for every important matter. In addition to the fact that they were already earlier appointed to be the Nisim of all the Shvatim. Und das is Kavanas Rashi, and with this we can understand what Rashi means when he says, Ha'anoshima Eila, says Rashi, Es Shnei Masa Nisim Alolo. It's these 12 Nisim. And then Rashi says, Ashenikvu Loi Kan B'Shemis, the ones that were specified here with their names. So how do we read these Rashis? What does he mean to say? So the Rebbe clarifies, does an init kein zwei bazundere dibra maschos in Rashi? The right way to read these Rashis is not that you have two different Rashis quoting from two parts of the pasuk that are saying two unrelated points. Nor says ein hemshech dibur. It's really all one long Rashi. Rashi is maitik the Melashon HaKosov, as Rashi sometimes does. He's quoting from the language of the pasuk, und stellt da rein in zwischen dem Pirish. And in between the words of the pasuk that he quotes, he inserts words to clarify the flow of the pasuk. So you read it as follows: these men, these 12 Nisim, and they were specified over here with the names. It's read as one long Rashi. Now, what is Rashi saying with this? So based on before, we understand what Rashi is saying. With this, Rashi is coming to clarify, not like Mefarshim say, as nit andere Menschen, to negate that this is not referring to other 12 men. There's no reason to think that. Nor as masbe prote alekicha from Moshe V'Aaron. The pasuk and Rashi is coming to clarify the details of this new taking of these Nesiim. Ha'anosham eile zene the Yud Beis Nesiim fun frie. These 12 men, they are the Nesiim from before already. Right? As Rashi says, Shnei Masa Nesiim Alola, they are already Nesiim from before. Aber die Lekiche is euch mit Sadem Minui, was is bei sei it's nischadish geworden. But over here now, Moshe Rabbeinu is especially taking them with him because of this new position that they're appointed to now. That now they got their names, as als Nesiim, even though they are already Nesiim from before. So that's what Rashi is clarifying. These people that are Nesiim already from before, but now they're being taken with a new level, with a new position. So now here they were called with their names for this new level. And this is beautifully understood in the words of the pasuk itself. Und der Fahr steht in pasuk, Vayikach Moshe V'Aaron es ha'anoshim eile. The pasuk says that these men were taken, and it does not say the Nesiim. Valdos was Vayikach Moshe V'Aaron the Nesiim. Mit sich aufzählen die Yidden. The fact that Moshe Rabbeinu takes the Nesiim with him to count the Yidden is nicht given als Teitzah, nor davon was es eine Nesiah Matais, was not only as an outcome or because of the fact that they are leaders, each one of their Shevet. The Sheiches zu sein Shevet, the relation that he has only to his Shevet, nor als ha'anoshim eile, but rather they're being taken for these men. Oti mention euch als kruei ha'eda. These men that were now appointed to be not just a nasi for his Shevet, but they are the prominent ones, the men that were there for all the matters of all the Klal Yisrael. Als Menschen ausgeteilt von der ganze Eda. People that are separated and elevated to be there for all of the Yidden. And that's what the pasuk here is saying. This new thing that they were elevated to, besides the fact that they were already Nesiim from before. And the pasuk is saying, as the Rabbi explained, that it's the fact that they were called by their names. That's how Hashem appoints and empowers them to this new position to be connected to counting all the Klal Yisrael. So this concludes the Pshat and Rashi. We understand the flow of all the Rashis and the Psukim of what it's saying over here, that the Nesiim that we know from before were now elevated to a new position to be counting all the Klal Yisrael. But in Siftes, the Rebbe takes this much deeper to understand what's really behind this. However, this is not completely smoothly understood. Sof, in the end of the day, you could still ask, why was this necessary? As jeden Nasi soll sich mishtatev sein in the minyan shara shvatim, that every nasi should participate in the count of all the shvatim. Und mit zadem hat man gedacht auftan am minui chodesh, and because of this, they were appointed freshly a new minui kruei ha'eda to be called for matters of the whole of Klal Yisrael. Sie sollen haben mashayches nit nur zu zeh shevet, nor to the ganze Eda, that they are related not only to the shevet that they are nasi of, but for all Yidden. Why is this necessary? The l'chayre mimanavshach. You can ask either way. There's no reason for this. Looking at the count of Klal Yisrael, the general idea of counting all of Yidden, this includes all Yidden equally. And therefore it demands that this should be done by somebody that has a relation to all Yidden as one, is genug, as der Minyan soll durchgeführt werden, wie die friedige Minyanim durch Moshe allein. So this would be enough that this minyan should be done through, like the previous times Yidden were counted, through Moshe Rabbeinu himself. And the most you can add of here, Aaron the Kohen Gadol over for all the Klal Yisrael. That's on one hand. If you look at the minyan akloli of the minyan. On the other hand, the fact that each shevet is distinct and is separate. This is the first time that each shevet was counted separately. To know the number of the families of each shevet what they belong to. The Nesiah, Shvatim Kanal, and therefore was necessary to combine the Nesiim to count, as the Rabbi explained the reasons before. Is doch in dem nit negay lechayre was the Nesiim haben euch hashayches kol eda. So for this, it's not relevant to have Nesiim that have a connection to all of Klal Yisrael. So what was really the point of this? That the Nesiim did participate in the count of all the Klal Yisrael when you already have Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron Kohen Gadol, which is there for the count of all the Klal Yisrael. Is the beer bezeh? So the answer to this is, when we get a deeper understanding what the count is really all about, that inyan from minyan is B'loshen Rashi. The idea of counting the Yidden, as Rashi says, is lo hidia chibosan cholo. This is here to notify to Yidden their love that Hashem has to them. Es brengt the reis the chiba from Yidden. It expresses the love for Yidden. Wie the Shloh is mevayer, as the Shloh explains this, as durich minyan veren Yidden adova choshuv. When you count something, that makes it prominent. Dova should be minyan, as the halacha is regarding something that's counted, or b'meidolei bottle, and it does not become bottle, which is as the halacha is regarding something which is counted. So similar here, when Yidden are counted, this expresses their love and their chshivas. Now, on them, expressing the love of every single Yid and the prominence, the chshivas of every single Yid, there are two different aspects to this. The Friede Geminyanim, earlier in the Torah when Yidden are counted, by Velchem had gezählt alle Yidden wie ein Klal, all Yidden are counted together in one as one. On der is Chalkus l'shvatim, without being divided into different shvatim. Seine gekommen loidia megala sein die Meile v'chibe von Yidden, was is heche von es Chalkus. This is to notify, to reveal that level within a Yid which is higher than being divided. There's no distinction, one shevet, another shevet, all Yidden are equal. Was das is, die Meile mitzad etzem anashama von jeder Yidden. What is this? This is the essence of the soul of every single Yid, which is the same. And welches is nicht kein Chelek zwischen ein Yidden und einer zweiten. There is no distinction between one Yid and another. Der Minion von unser Pasche, but over here though, the count in our Pasche is gekommen, megale sein lohidia, here it's to reveal and to notify euch, the Meiles Prati is von Yidden. Additionally, also the individual Meile that every Yid has. Was in them is Faranes Chalkas zwischen Yidden. As far as that is concerned, there is divisions. There's the Meile that one Yid has and the other does not. Sie sind nicht daimend, die Meiles Prati ist von ein Yidden, zu die Meiles Prati ist von der zweiten Yidden. You can't compare the specific level and whatever advantage or whatever character one Yid has to the character or the level of another Yid. So in our parsha, we're dividing it into 12 for every Yid separately, a different Meile. Und der Vater hat da gezählt, euch jeden Shevet bazunder. So every Shevet is counted separately, weil die Yud-Bei Shvatim seine gewinn Choluk in sehr Art leben, Limudat Teire, Parnassasam, V'chulu. When it comes to the 12 Shvatim, they're different in their lifestyle, I believe that's the translation, and also in their learning Torah and in their Parnassa and so on. In many ways, their life is different. As we see this in the brachas of Yaakov, and as Rashi specifies there, that the Shvatim are all very different. And so the fun is move on, as is an euch gewen, no chulik ba'avodas Hashem. So therefore we understand from this that they're also very different in their way that they serve Hashem. Ubechlalos, generally speaking, zenen as yud beis drachim klalim and avodas Hashem and velach as teltzich klal Yisrael. These are 12 different ways, 12 general ways of how Yidden serve Hashem. As hinted in their names, Reuven, the avodah from Ru'u. Reuven is serving Hashem through vision, through seeing. Re'iyah, Shimon is Shmiya, and as Alter Rebbe explains in Torah, Parshas Vayechi, regarding some of the names of the Shvatim. So therefore over here, the main focus of the count is highlighting the particular Meile that every Shevet has. And that also brings out the tremendous chibah, the love that the Eibush has for Yidden. However, the question though is, but even over here in this week's Parsha, all Yidden are being counted as one. All are equal in that sense. So Sifir Aleph, the Rebbe explains this. Is euch bei der Minyan jede Yid gerechnet geworden als eine. Each Yid is counted only as one, nicht mehr und nicht weniger, not more than one, not less than one. Was das weiß, the fact that every single Yid counts just as one, what does that show? We get Kama Pamim already explained more than once. As in the Minyan is done Inyan of welche alles sind gleich. That this count shows that there's something in a Yid that all are the same. Afal pi was misgeteilt und gezählt und mishpachaisam lebeis avaisam. And that remains true that all Yidden are only counted as one, even though here the point of this count is to bring out the particular Meile that every Shevet has, or that every person has, that only he has, a Meile that he has and someone else does not have. So this is very interesting, but at the same time, all Yidden are counted as one. Kumtais, if so, it comes out as in them is faran adova v'ifuchai. Here we have sort of two opposites in this count. Nicht geguckt auf them was der Minyan is verbunden mit dem Meiles Protis von Yidden. Not looking at the fact that on one hand, this count is related to the particular Meile that every Yid has. Was in them sind faran chilukim madreges, which in this there are many different levels. There was from Mokta Hechere Meile, one that's on a higher level, the leaders amongst you, has more prominence, and then someone that has a mile, but on a much lower level, wood chopper, water carrier, or something similar. There's no room that they should all be counted equally as one, with the same level of prominence. Und von deswegen, but at the same time, wird jede Yid gerechnet euch beshove zu alle anderen Yiden. Over here, each Yid is also counted as one, equal to all others, even though we're focusing here on the specific mile that every Yid has. Well, how could this be? How do you combine these two opposite points together? So we could explain the combination of these 2 points together. Das, was man zählt, Yidden mitzad zer milas protius. Over here, we're not just expressing the particular mila that every Yid, but it's being counted. The particular milas of Yidden are specifically being counted. What is the idea of counting? Is es nicht nur bich der Reis zu bringen, die Mila von jeden Yidden oder Shevet für sich allein. If it's about counting them, so then it's not just about expressing and highlighting the mila that every Shevet has for itself, what that mila is, what that mila has. No, rather, wie die alle milas protius zusammen stellen mit sich zu neuf ein keime shlema. If they're being counted for the milas protius, what that means is you're expressing the mila protius of every Shevet and how that mila protius contributes to the one big unit, the one body that needs all these milas that make up that one unit, that one body. Was in dem Inyan, when it comes to this point, was jede mila protis is mashlim dem klal, the fact that each individual mila is bringing together the klal is netoken es chalkas. In that sense, each particular mila contributes and makes the whole possible. Punkt wie der Kaim Shlema muss ankommen zum Milas Haresh V'Hamayach. Just as it's true that in order to have the full unit, the full body, you must have the head, the brain, the highest milas in the body. Kedei de Greichen Ishlemus, to reach to the full existence of this unit. Azoi muzi ankum zum Milas Haregel. So too, the body has to have the feet as well to be complete. So in the sense of completing, yes, we're talking about individual milas where they're very different from one another, as we understand the distance from the mile of the head to the mile of the feet, but nevertheless, the fact that they contribute and create this kaima shlema, in that sense, they're all one and the same. And therefore, they're all being counted equally as one. Weil in mashlim sein, dem klal sind sie alle gleich. The fact that each one of these milas protius are also milas that make up the one whole over there, they're all one and the same. So therefore, the point here is that the achdus of Yidden has to be revealed in the milas protius, but in those milas protius gufe, to see that what's the truth about these milas protius, their value is not just as what they are for as a prat. Their value is the fact that they contribute to the whole. So be'emes, even the pratim are only adding more to the shleimus of the klal. Das ist echt der Bior. This is also the explanation for was the Nisiya Matis haben sich gedacht, mishtatev sein in the minion von alle Yidden. Why it's necessary to have these Nisiyim of each individual Shevet, but they participated in the count of all of Klal Yisrael. Durach zeir veren krui ha'eda, the fact that they were here appointed to be krui ha'eda and ikroim l'chol dvar shivish shebe'eda, that they are called for every important matter of all of Klal Yisrael. Weil in den minion von jeden Shevet b'fnei atzmai, here, when each Shevet is being counted separately, hat gemusst sein euch nirgash, what has to be sensed over here is, what this minion is coming to accomplish is, wie das ist nicht nur a besondere minion als a besondere Metzies. Not just that each Shevet has its nasi that's being counted separately for its own Meile. Nor euch, der minion prati, wird gezählt als a Teil von Klal. But the Shvatim, the Nesiyim, are participating in all the Shvatim's count to express and bring out the fact that each individual mile of each individual Shevet makes up and gives the Shleimus for the whole Klal Yisrael. That's why we understand now that there's a tremendous depth over here to this new minui that these Shvatim, that Nesiyim of the Shvatim had to now be involved in the count of all of Klal Yisrael. Another beautiful order over here. If you have time, take a look in order 38. That ever adds more over here in the depth of this concept of this unique minion of Klal Yisrael here.